Hello and welcome to another episode of Island Learning Grenada. I am your host, Crystal Simeon. I am Grenadian, born and raised, and very proud of my country, Grenada. I am also the business owner of Island Learning Grenada. I'm originally from the Virgin Parish of St. David, the community of Worcester Hall. So thank you for taking a minute or two to view this video. This episode is focused on the Grenada Revolution, specifically looking at the role of Mount Wheldale in the Grenada Revolution. Before we get into the tidbits on Mount Wheldale, just a little sharing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Island Learning Grenada. At Island Learning Grenada, we are focused on education on Grenada's history, heritage, and rich culture. We do have classes starting in September for adults via Zoom in the evenings. If you are interested, you can check out our website www.islandlearning.gd/register for a class. In the class, we'll be covering African heritage in Grenada. Grenada has a rich and vibrant African heritage embedded in our culture. Indigenous heritage, as a result of the Kalinagos, who were the first inhabitants of the island of Grenada, and the Grenada Revolution, the most historic event that ever occurred in Grenada, and to date, the only successful revolution in the English speaking Caribbean. So, those three topics is what we cover in our classes. So, here's a little video that tells you about the classes upcoming for September. You can check it out on our WhatsApp us 535-4745 if you are interested. The cost is only 15 US dollars, 15 US dollars for the classes. So reach out. We have a special discount for groups of over 4 people or 5 people. So you can bring your family and your friends to take the class, and we will offer you a very special discount. So the classes starting up in September. They're delivered via Zoom. I am the host and facilitator of the classes. So let's get into Mount Wheldale. So Mount Wheldale played a very important role in the Grenada Revolution. So Mount Wheldale was the location of the home of the Prime Minister Maurice Bishop at the time, who was the political leader of the NJM, the New Jewel Movement, and the Prime Minister under the People's Revolutionary Government, or PRG. PRG was the government formed by the NGM to govern Grenada during the 4.5 years of the Grenada Revolution. The home of the Deputy Prime Minister, who was Bernard Coard, was also located at Mount Wheldale. In fact, the homes of the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop and Bernard Coard, were only separated by a distance of about 10 yards. So they were side by side. To the left was the Prime Minister's home, Maurice Bishop, and to the right was the home of the Deputy Prime Minister, Bernard Coard, and his wife, Phyllis Coard, and their children. Maurice Bishop also had a wife and children. The distance from the town of St. George's to Mount Wheldale is about 15 to 20 minutes on foot and about 5 minutes or less by drive. On the morning of October 19th, 1983, that was the tragic morning which ultimately led to the death of many Grenadians, including the beloved Prime Minister Maurice Bishop and several members of his cabinet. On that morning, very early, thousands of Grenadians gathered at Market Square. So, Market Square is right in the heart of St. George's in the town. It's the location where vendors sell local agricultural produce as well as local foods. Uh, so thousands of Grenadians. The estimate is that anywhere between 10,000 to as many as 25,000 Grenadians, most of whom were school children, secondary school children from local secondary schools such as Presentation Brothers College, PBC, St. Joseph's Convent St. George, SJC, the Anglican High School, AHS, and GBSS, the Grenada Boys Secondary School, as well as adults, nurses, business people, working class people gathered in at Market Square, and they gathered there to calling for chanting for Maurice Bishop. Maurice Bishop at the time had been under house arrest for 6 days. From since October 13th to October 19th, he was held in his home under house arrest. So the massive crowd gathered at the market square and they were chanting, "We want we leader. We want we leader. No bishop, no revel. No bishop, no revel." These were the chants being made by the massive crowd, calling for the return of their beloved Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop, and that without Maurice Bishop, there would be no revolution. He was a key to the success of the revolution. The crowd was mostly organized by other members of the PRG government as well as the NGM political party. They included Unison Whiteman. Unison Whiteman at the time was the Minister of External Affairs under the PRG and had been one of the founding members of Jewel. Jewel was the founding organization which later merged with Maurice Bishop's own organization called Movement of Assemblies of Peoples, or MAP, to form the new Jewel movement that contested the election in 1976. They lost, but he eventually went on to lead the successful revolution of 1979, overthrowing the Eric Matthew Gary led government at the time, GULP. So on the morning of October 19th, thousands of Grenadians, young people, school children, left Market Square and traveled to Mount Wheldale, all on foot walking up Market Hill, coming across Lucas Street and then onto Mount Wheldale, um, to call for the release of Maurice Bishop. When they arrived at Mount Wheldale, the property was gated, so they stood outside of the gate chanting for the call of the release of Maurice Bishop. They arrived around 9:30 a.m. the morning of October 19th at the Mount Wheldale location at Maurice Bishop's home, the Prime Minister's house, and they didn't have to wait very long. It's kind of not clear all the events that took place at Mount Wheldale, but within a short space of time, Maurice Bishop did emerge outside of the home and was freed from under house arrest and was able to take the people from Mount Wheldale and go back into the town of St. George. When they arrived at the top of Market Hill, instead of proceeding to Market Square, where initially persons thought that Maurice Bishop would gather them at Market Square and address the crowd and speak to his followers and members of his party and those who supported the revolution. Instead, a decision was made to move the crowd to Fort George. Fort George was the location of the command center of the PRG. They had the operations room, they had the communications room, they had telephone lines. It was also the location of the hospital. And Maurice Bishop, having been very weak and frail from the days of house arrest, needed a little bit of medical attention and also felt the need to be able to speak to people outside of Grenada through telephone communication about what was taking place at the time on October 19th. So the decision was made to move from Mount Wheldale and move the crowd to Fort George. Unfortunately, it did result in the tragic events that we know today occurred on Fort George, where Maurice Bishop and several members of his cabinet, including Fitzroy Bain, Jacqueline Kreff, Evelyn Bolin, etc., were killed, as well as many other Grenadians were killed on Fort George. So Mount Wheldale um, is an important part of the Grenada Revolution story. And this tidbit shared a bit about the role of Mount Wheldale. So thank you for viewing the video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Island Learning Grenada. Hit the notification button so that you can stay updated on all new content that is premiered on our YouTube channel, as well as anytime we premiere a live show, which we broadcast ever so often. If you are interested in our classes, check out our website and register for our classes. Again, www.islandlearning.gd/register for class, or you can WhatsApp us on 535-4745 to find out more information about the classes and other programming that we offer on Grenada's history, heritage, and culture. Bye.